11 ceremony. For those who don't know, one of the reasons why we're doing this is the Jefferson Park Chamber had a meeting at the Gale Street Inn on September 11, 2001. And if you can imagine, we didn't have much of a meeting. We spent most of the time in the bar watching TV and watching the horror unfold in front of our eyes. A lot of us did. And we're out here today to remember what happened on September 11th, to thank our first responders, and basically just be here as a community and be glad we're all together. But just a little history for those who don't know, this monument was put up shortly after World War II. This was where a lot of the World War II soldiers from Jefferson Park were inducted into the military. They took their oath right here at this intersection, and that's one of the reasons why this monument is in the middle of a busy intersection. It's a little dangerous at times, but that's why it's here. There were some World War II veterans who maintained this monument for 60-some years. They were all turning 90, and about 3-4 years ago, the Commander Brown stopped by my office and handed me a key to a flagpole. This flagpole was hit by a truck or tree about 5 years ago, and a 90-some-year-old veteran who was in the Battle of the Bulge, I believe it was very, very cold during that battle, he survived. He paid for this new flagpole about 4 or 5 years ago out of his own money. So they really took a lot of pride in this. They had a gentleman that every year would paint the eagle on top of it, and not too long ago they put a flag up in memorial of those who died fighting terrorism. So again, we'd like to thank them. Now we're lucky that we have a group of new veterans who are maintaining the monument. The American Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 311, the American Legion 11th District, they've been helping us out. And we also have several other VFW groups. Hopefully I got all their numbers. 5979, 335, and 2978.
Right here.
So thank you guys. Who else?
Post 36.
Post 36. Thank you guys for coming out. We also would like to thank the firefighters from the Jefferson Park Firehouse right down the street who are coming out in this rainy weather. Also, I'd like to introduce briefly our state rep, Lindsay LaPointe's here. Lindsay, did you want to say something quickly?
Is this okay?
Sure.
I want everyone to be able to hear me.
She doesn't have that.
I'm State Representative Lindsay LaPointe of the 19th House District. I'm honored to be here this morning. I have to thank the Chamber for holding this event consistently over the years and allowing us a place to have a collective memory together about an event that we can never forget. I'm here today on behalf of myself and Senator Martwick, who is our other state lawmaker, and he's in Harwood Heights right now at another commemoration event. So just one quick thing I want to share. This event affected everyone differently. It affected first responders in New York the most, but first responders across the whole country felt it in a certain way. Everyone who is alive to remember, it affected us. And it reminds us that not only do first responders are they ready to run into danger every day, whether it's because of an unprecedented attack on our soil here in America, or because of a global pandemic. And so one of the things I'm thinking about right now as we all remember 9/11 together is how we can't forget, and it has to guide our future. And so right now, first responders are running through the pandemic, and we're doing things in Springfield like expanding workers' compensation benefits and expanding death benefits. And so that's one of the ways this has affected me and how I think about our future and how we can expand protection for people that are not. Thank you for letting me be here to honor everybody that ran into danger.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. I'd also like to introduce our Alderman, Jim Gardner. He is also a first responder. He is on a leave of duty right now because he's our alderman. But Jim, I'd like to turn it over to you.
So I'm going to try and speak a little bit louder so you guys can try to hear. I know it's very noisy here.
So I just want to say thank you for everyone for coming out, all of our residents, Jefferson Park Chamber, our veterans, our police and fire department, our Park District employees as well. So I know it's 19 years has passed, and that date affects many of us in a lot of different ways. And many of us will never forget where we were on that day, how we felt, how we grieved, and the empathy we had for many, many people. And also the empathy we had for the first responders that we witnessed trying to help some of those people that were injured or killed that day. And I simply ask, in this age, in this time of a growing dissent and disrespect to our first responders, that we think about that day, and we see the saying, we will never forget. But oftentimes, on the actions that we witness here lately, I see that there is often people forgetting how much that our first responders were willing to give on that day, not just that day, but any other day. So please, on this day and on this weekend, please think about how special our first responders are and what they're willing to give to each and every one of us. I thank you for coming out today. I thank you for the respect that you give to our veterans and our first responders, and especially I thank our first responders for the jobs that they do. Thank you. I'd like to also thank 16th District, Sergeant Aaron, you're here. Thank you very much for the Community Police Department and all that you do. Also, I'd like to thank Parkway Bank. They had a representative come out. They pulled all the weeds of the island and cleaned it up. Thank you, Robert. Also, I know we have representatives here from the Polish American Chamber, the Gladstone Chamber, so we appreciate that. Before we turn it over to the veterans, one of our board members, Reverend Jackie, you want to come up here? Or stand in the middle or whatever?
I think Representative LaPointe and Alderman Gardner may have been reading my devotional book this morning, where it talked about the very spiritual significance of remembering. Because when we remember, we have an opportunity to feel reconnected to that which we are remembering and to be reconnected to one another. And so may it be that in these moments that we spend together, it's not just something we check off on our day that we did the right thing, but may it be that we will be like the loaves and fishes, multiplying in the good work of remembering. Not only remembering what happened, but remembering who we can be if we don't forget what's happened.
Thank you very much. It's good to see so many friends. I know everybody here, I think. But I was, due to the pandemic, bringing that up as the representative mentioned, we in the American Legion were asked to stay put for a second year in whatever office we've been holding. So this is my second year as commander, and it's an honor to be commander of the 11th District. The 11th District. Ryan. It's the 9th District, I'm sorry.
Oh, the 9th?
Yeah, they're good. Oh, boy, no, that's okay. That's why we put a ring.
We lead the way.
Right? But no, it's okay.
I'm a journalist, facts don't matter.
And that's the great thing about our community is that we're all friends and we're in this together. But the 9th District consists of 22 American Legion posts that range from northwest side of Chicago out to Palatine, down to North Lake, up north to Arlington Heights. And so we have 2,700 veterans that are part of the 11th District spread among them.
9th District.
Did I say the 9th again? Forgive me. I'll try to hear the end of it. But of the 9th District, there's 2,700 American Legionnaires who are all wartime veterans. We do have here with us the senior vice commander of the 1st Division, of which there are multiple districts, and they represent is only a fraction of the veterans that are out there. So we always ask that everybody asks if somebody's a veteran. If you know somebody who's a veteran, get them involved with the American Legion, VFW, Vietnam Veterans of America if they qualify and so forth. But I want to thank you for bringing us out here again today, Brian. This is very special. Pastor had mentioned about remembrance. I wrote this yesterday pertaining to September 11th, so September 11th, 2020, 9/11 Remembrance Day. Today, we remember the day when radical Islamic terrorists murdered 2,977 innocent people and injured more than 6,000 others. Author Marcy Alberghetti, in her 2012 book, The American Prayer Book, In God We Trust, wrote, "Never before had an enemy successfully attacked mainland America. Never before had Americans of all races and religions been murdered and devastated in their homes, workplaces, homes, and travels during what we all thought was peacetime. In addition, there are estimates that approximately one-half of those injured became permanently ill from toxic exposure to debris that spread from the wreckage of the World Trade Center towers. We remember them this day as well. American Legionnaires swear to preserve the memories and incidents of our associations in all wars. That oath is recited in the same spirit as when we enlisted in the United States military, joined other U.S. military veteran service organizations, as have also our police and fire and other first responders. Likewise, it is in that spirit that the oath is taken by new U.S. citizens, and every time we say the Pledge of Allegiance. That spirit is conveyed again here today when we say that we will never forget. In 1917, the Americans' Creed was written by William Tyler Case. The Americans' Creed was accepted by the United States House of Representatives on April 3rd, 1918. The Creed closes with a very powerful statement that I believe honors our war dead. The thousands who died as a result of the attacks on our home, the United States of America, on September 11, 2001. The statement reads, "I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies." We at the American Legion, whenever we have a meeting in session, we recite, of course, the Pledge of Allegiance, we bring up the colors, we remember those who are not with us, things that we don't hear about in everyday news. But we also have a pledge that's called the American Legion Preamble to the Constitution of the American Legion. I'm going to read it here for us. It's only 100 words. "For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate 100% Americanism, to preserve the memories and incidents of our associations in all wars, to inculcate a sense of individual obligation to the community, state, and nation, to combat the autocracy of both the classes and the masses, to make right the master of right, to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness." I want to let you know that very last verse, to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. The American Legion was founded at the end of World War I. It grew by leaps and bounds because there were no veterans benefits. Soldiers were sent home, whether they were blinded or missing limbs and strung out on PTSD or shell shock, whatever they called it back then. But they were given $68, a uniform on their back, and a bus ticket to the nearest town to where they enlisted from. That was it. So thank God we've got some roots here in Chicago, the McCormicks and others who came together, they founded the American Legion, and they did things right. They bought into this, and it's for the decency of mankind, and it just so happened that it's run by veterans. One of the keys here that is interesting, years later, like 20 years almost, it was during the Great Depression. This was, since 1918, this preamble has only changed to make the word wars plural. Everything is the same. Nothing's been amended, nothing's been changed to this promise that's 100 years old now. That last verse, to concentrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness, the veterans helped their own. They took care of their own from the very beginning. And that template was so good, and it continues to be so good, that President Roosevelt used it as a model for Social Security. That came out of the American Legion. The GI Bill of Rights, which came out of, was written longhand on a legal pad in 1944. And that came out of the American Legion. There's things that are foundational that we take for granted came out of this group of war veterans that came home and decided to take care of their own. And it was founded on God and country. That was the whole lens with which it was looked at. So the American Legion has been around for 100 years, and it is still Americanism. There's a verse here too I want to go over, that we foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism. All the political nonsense that's going on right now, people associate Americanism with something wrong, something bad. People are even afraid to fly the American flag in their community. I'm seeing more flags now, but it's a disgrace that they are afraid to fly the American flag. But let me clear this. To foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism. What that means is to foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism. Americanism is the gist of the American ideals of freedom, justice, individual rights, and unfenced-in opportunities. It embraces all the freedoms we cherish and all the rights that are guaranteed to us. It is the very opposite of hatred, bigotry, and intolerance. Americanism is the creed that has blazed the worldwide trail for justice, fair play, decency, belief in God, private enterprise, universal education, and progress in all human endeavors. It puts a premium on the virtues of loyalty, patriotism, hard work, and thrift. That's only one of the phrases. There's a lot of words in that preamble, but when we drill down into it, it's foundational. This is why I promote the American Legion post in whatever community we're in is just as important as any schools or churches. They are the fabric of patriotism from the youth, from the womb to the tomb. That's what we do at the American Legion. Unfortunately, we've had an awful go of public relations for the last generation. And so we're feeling the impact of that. And that coincides with the lack of teaching civics in school. And this is why we've got all these problems. It's a contributing factor. So the substance of the reason why we're here today and what's so important, it's about those 2,977 souls who perished on 9/11. They just went to work. They just went to work. And when you look at the Sears Tower and you imagine what that would be like to watch it crumble, it's heartbreaking. It's very difficult to watch these remembrance ceremonies, these memorials, to relive those towers going down, and then all the agony that has been felt since. So when someone burns the American flag, steps on it, kneels on it, disrespects it, they're disrespecting those people who died, all who came to the war, and all who are becoming captives. That's our view at the 9th District of the American Legion. So this day is about those people who died. And with that, you know, we've got a special guest here who I might would like to call up the commander of the 1st Division. Would you like to say a word, Commander? This is Commander Al Pizarro from the 1st Division. He represents 12,000 American Legionnaires here.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. This is a solemn day. It should always be a solemn day for all those that lost their lives on that particular day, 9/11/2001. It's especially disheartening because of the fact that many people have forgotten. So we must continue to remember. We must never forget. Never forget those that lost their lives. Never forget those who did not have to be there but went anyway. That's the mark of a hero, ladies and gentlemen. Never forget. Thank you.
Before we turn it back over to Brian, I would like to have, there's a prayer that came out of the Vietnam era. I don't know exactly who wrote it, but it's called We Remember Them. I got this from Annie, who's one of our Vietnam veteran associate members, and her husband.